Even if God is not dead, it is now clear that he used the world as little more than his internet. Disaster and porn.
And so I am calling on my followers to protest this blasphemy show, this abomination that says there is no hope, that keeps a clock counting down till the end of the world, in open mockery of the judgment of Jesus and my beleaguered father, who felt he knew the end.
And the environmental evangelist was more than inevitable. But destiny, but I know this part all too intimately, as I must say that I tried to stop it. I warned against it. I told her. You know, you can't go, you can't do this. This is the thing that can't be.
What is it that you don't want America to see?
It is the problem with permissions and rights and tie-ins and crossovers. What will happen when these two shows come together? The two biggest in the country, which share almost no overlap.
Can it be that you don't believe in me? That you fear if they see me beside him, see me there, that they will no longer love me, that we will lose our viewers to the Lord?
Exactly, but there is a distinct possibility of. See, you think you can go there and mock him and win?
Mock is not my
When
intent.
has it never not been that in
that we might learn something to share the same land. After all, Ecclesiastes is the most existentialist book of all. 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 Ecclesiastes is the most existentialist book of all.
But you might, as in the myth of Jack-o'-lantern, make the story about you.
Understand, it is something I must do to set up the logistics is what, if you want to keep working, you must do.
If only she had listened to me, if only I could take reality and make it not me, turn back the tape, rewind the chance. But as I watch it again and again, as if in a trance, this tragic dance unfolds as all songs be, where no one knows their end and what may be told. There is no way to tell this story. There is no way not to tell it. No storyteller so bold, nothing. Every time I think of the weather, which is all the time, it's all we do or say. Afflicted, constricted by the whimsy of the gods today, the caprice of their play that dashes our best laid plans to bits, as fate spits in the eye of preparation. I am crushed and the reverend it feels was right about damnation, but wrong that anyone could ever be saved. For this show she slaved, I slaved, and yet she is there already. But I have no future, but a fiery or watery or ice-covered grave. must always be fought against the onslaught of the tide, which is now measured not in seasons, but in the ever-mounting disaster count.
This program comes to you commercial-free from Zantac, curing anxiety and indigestion since 2017.
The perfect pill for today.
Zantac.
But there is other footage that we have discovered on the surface of the ark.
It is a thing that must be the vanity of vanities that is TV. Drives us towards the salvation of not just this, but all of the species. And the Lord tells me that in order for that to be, the power must come to me. And one way that can happen is to allow the merging of the two top shows on TV. Yes, heathen is she and whore, probably, but to set myself off against her is one of the ways to power, power, power. You know that to truly save our land, it cannot be unless I'm governor. Amen, brother, and all ties have been severed, leaving our militant friends to float like a cork upon the weathered sea, helping us find the glory of eternity. And this trip, the biggest event and the biggest storm in TV history, TV history, TV history. It is the perfect opportunity for the voters of this state to see my divine given authority as I help us rise from the barbarity of our temporality.
And we discovered this YouTube video from the Reverend Billy Noble's oldest friend. We had a better sense of what he means. And it is clear that Noble was in some way connected to the terrorist attacks that rocked Adams' run during the week that Julie Shore was there. It appears as if he was trying to create chaos in order to further his own political bid for governor. Listen.
The righteous rule with a sword. my time, but I must find the Lord's purpose with my own mind. I must find the perfect target for fire to erupt with God's ire as the storm approaches and people scurry around like roaches and only Billy, my cousin and oldest buddy, will be the only one who can bring order to this disrupted humanity. The righteous move with a sword to the ark. Welcome aboard, where the righteous move with a sword.
This program is sponsored by Viagra. Our 24-hour time-release formula treats allergies and erectile dysfunction at the same time.
When you reject mucus from your body, be sure it is from the right appendage.
Viagra.
We're here live at Adams Run, where the Reverend Billy Noble is building an ark of sorts to protect he and his flock. The future of the world, he says, and yet, Reverend, in a kind of divine irony.
The hurricane of the century.
Complete with snow, threatens to batter and destroy this refuge before it can become seaworthy, able to show the world.
The way is torn and flayed. 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 The way is torn and reverend.
It is I, Mrs. Shaw, who should welcome you into our home.
I may not be
Home, here down south, our armament is, I hope, and true. Unwelcome, no, you are my guest, but I suppose that you are referring to Hurricane Zeke.
The hurricane of the century.
Upon the crest of waves, within your lack of faith, where it may seem inopportune, a vanished wraith. But to me, a man with open eyes, it shines as a divine sign of my world and its need beneath the wave-colored Christian creed, whereby I did, under providence, embark upon the building of this new ark. Mysterious ways, mystery
But it was not so long ago when churchmen blamed sinners for winds that blow, bringing especially homosexual sex. They deemed the storm of Katrina to
these men, I confess, were wrong. What seemed at the time the final gong struck against Sodom and Gomorrah out of luck, but the single instance divine retribution served. What was the single contribution to the second great deluge?
Of shows with the Reverend that had simultaneously on both in a deal almost impossible to broker by me with warring production companies. And a series of conversations like this extended through the days as they wandered through the bizarre weather that assaulted Noble's Ark. Under construction as an environmental and spiritual refuge from what he calls the second great deluge.
But how can you say that this weather proves that there is a God, when it is a direct violation of the principle of theodicy? In this world, if there is a God, a devil he must be.
There's a song I think of by Waylon and Willie called Welcome to 2003 minus 25. Back then, in the 70s, things were also looking pretty bad.
The 70s were compared to now a veritable golden age.
And they sang, God's still up there laughing, so he's gotta be alive. Who says he can't take a dirty joke?
But yes, but that is not the Christian God.
Or is it not? I heard you say the day before you came that Ecclesiastes was the first existentialist text.
But it says in the very beginning that the earth abideth forever. There is not eternity that is not earthly. But now, the earth is poised to end while time goes on burning with sin.
Yet you read it wrong. The wind bloweth toward the north and turneth about and goeth to the south. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth according to his circuits. Doesn't that sound familiar, Miss Shore? Yet your eye is not satisfied with see it. But Jesus was the new thing under the sun, the fulfillment of that prophecy, and its coming undone. Earth abideth forever, only in his life. But earthly life shall end sometime in fire after the rapture.
Oh, that's where you go and ruin it, you see. The religions of the book would be tolerable to me if they limited their scripture to Ecclesiastes. And maybe the Psalms for the sensuality.
This is what I cannot see. How you can see nihilism sensually when sex is procreation, is continuity. If the population were decimated, demised, then I would relish in going forth to multiply.
So saith the preacher. And are you saying the ecclesiast was a nihilist?
Going on that others didn't see, that were plain in front but almost invisible to me. They had long conversations at night alone and continued what seemed so strangely in the world to be an actual dialogue between conflicting worldviews. But that dialogue, for all the promise it shared, took both of them elsewhere unawares.
strangest things, and death and desire have the swiftest wings. For how dieth the wisest man? The preacher asks, and the answer is the same as the fool. So in a way, man, whatever, it's cool.
Thou tempt me so, the pain of my soul, of my blue balls, no one could ever know. Each night she tries, she plies, and a part of me dies, as I say, no, no, no. But soon I am sure, like the shores that here erode with the war of storms, that I will succumb and be firm no more. Yes, perhaps she is a whore, wanting more than is right, of Babylon, gone beyond repair. But you can't believe that's true, who must have felt something for Mary. And I can't abide the way I feel about Julie Shore. Julie Shore. But I am, oh, I despair, falling in love with her more each day. As we play these mind games back and forth, with philosophy it is, I dare say, what a marriage should be. And if we were married and she were saved, we could make love for all
This show is brought to you without commercial interruption by Riddleax for mental focus and regular bowels. Riddleax.
For mental focus and regular bowels, Riddleax. We can see how difficult it was, the matter of sex for them both. And it should remind us how human we are, beset by the passions, arguments and protests and threats, it was clear that Noble's attempt at actual conversation, his line was conversation is part of converting. Some in his flock grew dismayed.
Temptress, enough. Tolerance, wallowing in degradation is the way away from salvation. Blowing the sword, the roar of the Lord. Take out the trash whore of Babylon. Let the whore be gone.
Holy shore,
in our
This is Dana Daring. For the last hour, the footage has been speaking for itself, and what it says is plain to see. The weather and explosion almost swallowed this story whole. If not for me, it would have remained untold. The secret is uncovered, a sequence discovered. From disjointed mess, the order is pulled. After the riots, Rodney Richards disappeared, never to be seen again. Justice or vengeance, whichever one it was, slips through our fingers this time. We cannot fathom the depths of our own extremity at the edge of time. The depravity of life ripping life from us moment by moment, or making it so bad that we can't wait to go. So tragic, we can't wait to end the day. So comic, we can't wait to end and say,
so long, it's been good to know you. So
long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. This dusty old dust is driving me
home, and I've gotta be
drifting along.
so long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, it's been good to
Know you, this
dusty old dust is driving me home,
and I've got to be drifting along. Verdict so long, but it was never enough.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you. Hey, Bay. Thank you all for attending the first event of Rhymes with Opera Cyber Season. This is Dana Daring, and you are joining us for the Q&A session of our Adams Run live watch party. I've been enjoying keeping up with all of the chats, and I am watching the chat. So if you have any hard-hitting questions for our creative team, I would love to ask them. So think of your questions, post them in the chats. In the meantime, let's say hello to the creative team. Ruby Fulton, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Dana.
Hello.
It looks very urban there.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from a shed in Moscow, Idaho, in the Pacific time zone. It's still light out here.
Beautiful. I love your tapestry in the background. Is it like the shed that Julie Shore and Reverend Billy Noble made out in?
It's similar, but much larger, and would be a less ideal place to plant a bomb.
Ah, okay. We have our first question for the creative team. And Ruby, I think I will let you answer this one. The question comes from Gregory North. Question: has this been produced on stage or video only?
Yeah, so we, this was devised as a video, an opera made for video. And Rachel Dwiggins made the video. Hi, Rachel. But we did do one version of it kind of karaoke style where we muted the main arias for each of the characters and had Bonnie, which is Dana Daring's alter ego, and Robert and Elizabeth sang along with the film. So, but it's mostly made just for film. Yeah, not so much.
Thank you. And the film has been screened in several locations across the country. Am I right about this?
Yeah, we did it at the Charles Theater in Baltimore. We did it at the name of the place I can't remember in Brooklyn. Maybe one of you remembers. It's like a long name with multiple words. I feel like it has the word Adam in it, but I could be wrong. In Durham, in Cherokee, Iowa.
Also Iowa City, Iowa.
In Iowa City, Iowa.
That's right.
Yeah,
for the
maybe
Witching Hour Festival, I think.
Yes, the Witching Hour.
We had Dana Daring with us in Iowa City.
That was a fun car ride. All the way to Iowa City from Baltimore. Believe. I will always remember that. All right. If you have been enjoying this kickoff event of our cyber season, I just want to encourage people to visit us at rhymeswithopera.org to see the rest of our season. You also have the option of joining our mailing list or donating a one-time or subscription donation to Rhymes with Opera if you are so inclined. We have another question. This one comes from Facebook. Matthew Sullivan, collaborator with Rhymes with Opera, wonderful, wonderful human. He asks, what was the inspiration to make this just for film instead of staging it? How did that change the way you approached telling this story? Hard-hitting question from Matthew Sullivan.
You want to take that, Baynard, maybe?
Sure. I mean, we were foreseeing this moment right here when people wouldn't be able to get together in person, and we knew people would need something. And maybe not exactly this moment of COVID. We didn't foresee that, but we foresaw, as the thing shows, disaster and shit raining down upon us all the time. And we thought that we would want to give this to you so that you could watch it where you are, safe from us, and in hopes that something might survive. As Rhymes with Opera was also moving, becoming a more long distance troupe as Ruby moved out west and that sort of stuff, it also became practical for the troupe, I think. But my concern was Dune.
It is really unusual to have a video opera.
Was that a question?
Kind of a follow-up. To have a video opera really changes the medium of what we usually consider to be opera. Ruby, as a composer, what challenges did you face in this conversion from live theater? How did you broach it? How did the creative team handle those differences?
Honestly, the biggest challenge is money, just because it costs and resources. You know, it takes a lot of money and resources and people and time and hours, and it's like insane. I was just watching the University of Idaho students' short films that they presented last night from this semester, which were really cool at the Kenworthy, online at the Kenworthy last night. But it's like, it's insane, and this came up in their talk back, how much time and effort it takes to do 2 minutes of video or 5 minutes, and then this was nearly an hour, and we somehow in this totally insane fashion did that all in 1 week, which was it was like waking up early in the morning and staying up until late at night on all of those days, just constantly working. But yeah, so the resources, you know, of course opera is expensive, you know, historically as a genre because of all the people that it involves. But when you bring in video and all the gear that we need for that, we were so like super lucky to be connected through Rachel to Dave Gedney for this project, who brought with his really excellent gear, you know. So that was like one less thing we had to worry about paying for. But like the really nice stuff, I mean, it's a huge investment. So, but then I would say on the other side of things, that the great thing about doing it is like being able to produce it afterwards. So like mixing, and you know, it's voices can be buried by instruments, but like if it's done on Ableton, you know, with Wendell Patrick who mastered it, and with Matt Leffler Schulman and Mobtown Studios who recorded us and mixed it, we can just ride the sliders and like get the levels how we want. So there's definitely like ups and downs to the video format for opera. Bonnie, I think you're muted.
You're right. I am.
Excuse me,
Dana.
I'm a few bows
My bad. Deep. You know, it is Baltimore after all. I do remember this recording process, and it was a doozy. Fortunately, we did have a lot of wonderful help. Oh, we have some more hard-hitting questions from our live audience. This one comes from Sherry Holiday Kwan, the real-life wife of Julie Shore. This one's directed to Bay. It's so good to see you well, Sherry says. Baynard has recovered, thankfully, from COVID-19. And she says, it's good to see you so well. I'm assuming you come into this project with some knowledge of Christianity, the Bible, and our religious communities. Where'd that come from? And what inspired you to write about a televangelist building an ark?
Baynard, you're muted.
There we go. That's a great theological question, and thank you. I am feeling better, and I think my mom is watching this, and that comes very much from her. She still likes to watch evangelists on television. Took us to see people a lot when we were kids, and it's some of it is trying to think like how that could address the ecological concerns that I think everyone will be moving away from this denial in coming years to facing it. And so what would a serious theological answer to that be? And preserving species that was sort of already there. So I was trying to, and I let it, you know, I also wanted to make sure that I let Billy Noble be right in the end that fornication did lead to immediate hellfire and damnation. Is that a good answer there, Dana? Is that enough?
I mean, I could talk about damnation all night, but I will take that answer for tonight. We have another question in from Twitch. We have someone watching on our Twitch channel. This question comes from Baltimore artist Jason Charney. How do you think the characters would respond to this current apocalypse rather than the second great deluge?
That's a great question. And it's very similar in some ways. I mean, I imagine they wouldn't kiss, would be one of the big differences. But it's a similar type of crisis of a plague, in this case upon us, and weather damnation. But I imagine that Billy Noble would try to raise some money, and Julie Shore would try to get some ratings, and they would not make out. They would stay at their own place.
Maybe they would have some steamy Zoom meetings.
So how would the world end if no one was having sex?
Oh man, good point, Rachel. I guess it's never gonna end. We're stuck with it now.
We're forced to kind of not have sex out of at least common law marriage, right? Who's gonna be damned enough? I mean, I guess if you're having gay sex, right? There's enough people having gay sex that would work.
Questions that will keep me up all night. Tonight. We have 2 questions from 2 different audience members regarding the film process. The first one comes from Liam Robert Marchand from Facebook, and he has introduced himself as a student of Ruby's.
Aww.
Liam from Facebook says, I've been doing my research into opera for a while, and I loved the direction that you were able to take on a film medium. I haven't seen anything quite like it. Liam, neither have I. What were some of the biggest complications, aside from the money, I imagine, that you ran into while transferring the opera form into an edited product? Is it anything like making a music video? Just a lot harder? Fantastic work, Liam says. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Liam.
Thanks, Liam, for watching and coming to check it out. Rachel, maybe that would be a good question for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a complicated one. I would say in terms of the edit process, in terms of like how we wanted to go about making this opera into something that would capture your interest for 50 minutes on a screen, where normally you're seeing somebody just kind of stand and sing and things kind of move around them on stage, but it really comes down to a performative aspect. But I think it came down to the post-production aspect of it to make it more dynamic, so you didn't get honestly like too bored by seeing people just stand there, like sing at you. I think we were successful in that. I think that was one of the biggest challenges, is keeping the pacing of something that you are, we're forcing you to watch on video instead of live. Keep your interest during it. So I think that was my most difficult process, because with a music video you have like 4 minutes, but this was 50 minutes of kind of consistent half music video, half like regular film, so it was a little bit tricky to work that balance.
Oh yes. In those same lines, Gregory North from Facebook, Rachel, has a question for you. The synchronization in the duet with the weather woman and the minister, blending voices and interplay of the actors, was perfect. How hard is
that? We had like some sort of crazy, I think it was kind of a janky rig when we shot. I know we were shooting to the soundtrack, because the key in this is that Ruby had already recorded it, and it was getting to be mixed. And then it wasn't mastered, but we could deal, it was fine. And then, so we had that on set, and actually that was kind of nice that half the time we didn't have to record any sound. It was a little bit easier that we could just yell at people to do stuff. instead of having to be quiet and hoping. But that one was, I think, a little trickier. Can anyone remember how we kind of got them to? Well, that one was pre-recorded, right? The news. Do you guys remember?
Baynard, you're muted.
I think it was pre-recorded, and that was mainly your post-production stuff, right? Was just sort of.
Yeah, but then I had to like match it up, but it worked out well since I could kind of hear, we'd play it and they'd kind of like do it with the already recorded tracks. I'd say Dana Daring had the biggest hurdle. I would
Oh,
say.
yes! I was living in California at the time, and I remember I came in and I recorded, and 2 days later I had to lip sync to my recording. I found out that watching RuPaul's Drag Race does not necessarily make you good at lip syncing. It was very hard.
You had one take also. You did that whole aria was a single take, which is pretty impressive.
We had run out of money and we had run out of time. And Rachel said, Dana, you have one chance to do this aria. You better do it right. And I had just met Rachel and she scared the life out of me. So I pulled on my big girl pants and I did, I think, a wonderful job. I'm just gonna good job.
Amazingly, Ruby was yelling out the words to you as you were singing them as well.
That's what I was thinking about when Rachel was saying it was an advantage to have the music already recorded so that we could talk during the actual filming, because that's the scene where Bonnie is in the green screen and the studio is being broken down all around her by the crew. It was like 3:45 and we had to leave at 4 or something like that. It was like a 5-minute aria. And so we knew we only had one chance. So I was like standing off to the side of the camera, saying the lines right before they happened so that she could lip sync them. It was pretty epic. And then it ends up being like one of our favorite parts. So.
Yeah, everyone there was like on point. Like I remember Adam was like, I got this. We could do this choreography, and had all the grips like specially extra choreographed to get. He was like, we can do this. So like all these things in the background were also had to be done in one take, but mainly the lip syncing on point.
We have several questions here. We have several questions. A question from Rhymes with Opera at Facebook. Question from one of the watch parties. What if COVID-19 is not curable or preventable? Will we see opera created at a distance?
Oh, that question is heartbreaking. Geez, I mean, Dana would know more about this than me, but there have been a lot of news lately about singing and how singing in particular with a group is very not safe because everyone is expelling particles into the air. It's pretty dismal.
Super spreaders.
So, super spreaders. You're a super spreader, Dana.
Yes. That's how I've always thought about you.
So, I mean, this kind of project, actually, we the soundtrack for it, at least, we could have done during COVID because people can record, individually. So I don't know. I'd be curious. I saw some opera heads in the chat and stuff. I'd be curious. I saw Timothy Stoddard and Frank J. O'Teary and these folks. I'd be curious what people are thinking in general right now, like what's going to happen, But gosh, it's a tough question and even tougher to say. There's so many unknowns right now.
Well, I do really feel as though online entertainment has gotten so very popular in many, many entertainment mediums. And I do feel like, in a weird way, COVID-19 is an opportunity for us in the experimental new and operatic arts to really go further and explore how we can make art on a virtual platform. For example, our whole cyber season is a result of this pandemic and needing to delay our live performances. So I think from here on out, COVID-19, whether it is cured or not, we will see a lot more virtual and at a distance creative collaborative art. That makes sense. And Frank O. Terry from Facebook added, in the 1970s, Robert Ashley said that the future of opera would be on television, and Adam's Run is a total fulfillment of his prophecy, and he would love to see this show on TV, commercials and all. So,
hey.
Frank.
And Dana Daring has experience with, I don't know if you want to talk more about Robert Ashley or not, Dana. I don't know if it's beyond the scope or not.
It might be a little beyond the scope of this particular conversation.
Okay, well, ask her later about Robert Ashley. She's got the goods.
Yes, I'm asking the questions here, but I do like that comment. We have been making virtual opera. This is but one as part of a legacy of American virtual opera, which I'm very proud to be a part of. Question for Rachel from Rhymes with Opera on Facebook. Was this your first opera experience? How or isn't opera different than non-sung film? Have you gotten so into opera since?
I actually had a very stodgy philosophy professor of a father who loved opera. So he would listen to the Met on Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoon, whatever. So every weekend I was forced into the operatic realm. He knew a few operas by heart, that kind of thing. So it isn't my first experience with opera. It is my first experience with like new music opera, like I was raised on the earlier stuff. So, and of course I have not made an opera film ever or since. So I'm open to more opera films.
Well, you and I are supposed to make some opera.
I know. But then
some operettas. Maybe we can get that started. Sarah Washburn from Facebook has a question. Do the websites in the film actually lead us anywhere? And have we raised any money through them?
No, I don't think the websites in the film, it would have been a great idea if we would have thought to make that happen. If we would have given Billy Noble a website that you could go to, if we would have had Existentialist Weather Woman website, and if we were raising money, that would have been an even better idea.
I think we just made them up. I'm pretty sure as we were making graphics.
And the graphics are brilliant. I mean, that was like the whole, like the totally fucked when it chisor thing, and all of that came. We didn't know that was coming at all. And Billy Noble's websites, that was all on Rachel's watch after we had filmed everything.
But you can donate to Rhymes with Opera at www.rhymeswithopera.org. If you are so able, these are hard times, but we are offering our entire cyber season for free. So if you enjoy what you've seen and you'd like to donate, we welcome it. We have a question from my phone. This question comes from longtime viewer, first-time poster, Stuart Mostovsky. The question is, first of all, this was so good, thank you. As a physician, I found the commercials hilariously compelling. Who were the children on Riddlex?
Dude, that shit is all stock, yo. Stock. Stock is hilarious and never-ending source of amusement. But yes, all strangers. That girl is probably like 25 now. You never know.
We should say that the voiceover in the commercial is Andrea Seabrook, NPR, former congressional reporter and radio personality, volunteered for us to do the the voiceovers for that, which really also
Yeah,
helped make it.
we were awfully lucky to get to work with Andrea on that. Yeah. And then also Bonnie, Dana Daring, sorry, improvised a lot of the jingle material. There was like a tune, but she made the cool harmonies on the cool, like, I don't even know what they are, like 60s, 50s doo-wop harmonies or something. But that was like in like a 1-hour session at Mobtown Studios. So thanks, Dana.
That was definitely super fun. That was one of my favorite parts, was making up some harmonies.
And sorry, super quick. Also, thanks, Stu, for checking it out. It's cool to hear from you, man.
Yes, and this video, if you liked Adam's Run, you can watch it again and again and again on Amazon Prime. I feel a little weird about Amazon Prime right now, but we're on there. We have at least...
Bonnie, Dana.
Yes? Can you hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, we have at least we have two more questions from our audience. The first one goes to Ruby. This one comes from Gregory North from Facebook. For Ruby, loved your score. What influences your work, especially in relation to Adam's Run?
Ooh. Good question. Even better delivery. So distracted by the singing. Gosh, that's a super great question. I mean, I'm a big fan of the minimalists and the post-minimalists. The Bang on a Can composers are my mentors. And yeah, I think also I listened to a lot of Robert Ashley to try to figure out the recitative sections in particular, where Dana Daring is kind of advancing the story, and it just has like some drums in the background. I remember right around that time in Baltimore, there was a production of, I think it was The Park with Matmos in it, and it was one of the big Robert Ashley pieces. But I'm like super smitten with his work, so I was definitely trying to learn something from him for that. Yeah. Thanks.
Beautiful question. Wonderful questions. And just a moment before we ask our last question, to shout out to all of the other collaborators that we had on this film. Not just Miss Seabrook, but the percussionists who played in the compound. Thank you to the compound. Thank you to Mobtown Studios. And to Allison Clendaniel, who provided the voice of one of our villains. You might not have noticed, but the aria, one of the aria of our villain, featuring Connor Kaiser, our director for Adam's Run, was tuned down an octave, 2 octaves. And that voice belongs to Baltimore Wunderkind, Allison Clendaniel. So many wonderful people we got to work with on this project. In such a wonderful city, really. Beautiful Baltimore. All right, last question, and this one is a doozy. So get ready. This one comes from YouTube, from Daniel, Mr. Ruby Fulton. This is, do you think that a video opera is a way to popularize the art? Is it a less intimidating format for someone who has never watched an opera before?
Good question, Danielle. Yeah, I know also that Danielle was watching the opera tonight with his parents in Brazil, who my parents-in-law, who we've never really talked about my music before or like any of my work. So kind of crazy way to be introduced to that. But gosh, I mean, I think that people are pretty open, especially in this time, to video. I think that like when we listen to content, we are, or I am, more likely to glom on to a video of something than I am to glom on to like just the audio. Like I'll listen to just the audio if I know it's something I really want to listen to. And of course I listen to tons of audio, but like if it's just something where it's random and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll check that out. If it's a video, I mean, shoot, I watch the videos, the stupid, pointless videos on Facebook that I don't even know what they are, like all the time without even turning the sound on, and just watch the like. I don't know if anyone else does that. Maybe that's an embarrassing thing to admit, but like, and you see the subtitles go by, and sometimes I like go into this weird trap of doing that, and I think it's because humans like video. I don't know, Rachel, what do you think?
I would say, honestly, the the most accessible thing you can do for opera is to just not call it opera and just that's what I think. I think people have a really pretentious view of opera like it's something different. So I feel like for example, Lemonade was basically an opera. And I think that's an example of just don't call it an opera, sneak it out there, and people are going to be super into it. Because yeah, of course they've always like we're way more focused on screens than ever before, right? So obviously it's more accessible, but just shh about opera.
Well, but then that's so ironic because the word opera actually just it's so generic. It just means like work, you know. So it's
No,
like
I mean I agree. It's just it's like
such a loaded word.
Yeah.
Maybe you could call it something that rhymes with opera.
What would that might that be, Maynard?
Opera.
All ears.
There's definitely a conception that opera is something that is elite, and you know, I partially blame Frasier for that. But I would be interested in turning that question back onto our studio audience. Does the concept of opera, just if someone says the word opera, what comes to mind? That is a really challenging question. And that is why we are Rhymes with Opera. We definitely want to reach a modern and broad and audience, I think. So, Tiffany Defoe has a rhyme for opera. It is Bopera. Very nice, Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah.
Melissa Bartonstein says it's available to a much broader audience, which is amazing. Which I think is true, especially for video opera. So think about how you feel about opera, and how you would like to have it, and go to Amazon Prime and watch Adam's Run over and over again. And please, again, if you like our programming, please go back to rhymeswithopera.org, sign up for our mailing list, donate if you have some change, and please come to more of our cyber season. Ruby, would you like to talk about, before we close tonight, talk about our next event?
Yeah, so on Memorial Day, this is a fun thing because a while ago, what would that be, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, a couple different times we accidentally scheduled a show for Memorial Day weekend, and like it's always been a disaster because no one comes because everyone goes out of town to go camping or they're going to a cookout or whatever. And like we at one point were like, okay, never again, never on Memorial Day weekend again. So this year we're taking back Memorial Day weekend during the COVID-19 crisis to have Rhymes with Opera Salon. So the salon events are when there are multiple different performers, not from our group, but our group is usually represented, but then other people that we think are making interesting work that involves the voice. So we decided to take advantage of the cyber situation in that we could branch out to other parts of the country, because normally our group is focused on New York or Baltimore area. So anyways, we're going to do a Northwest salon on Memorial Day weekend. The date is Memorial Day Saturday, I think. Is that right, Dana? Is it Saturday? 26th?
The 23rd.
23rd.
Saturday, but weeks from today. 2 weeks.
Yeah. And the performers include Dylan Champagne out of Moscow, awesome composer, singer-songwriter. Lauren Schustrich out of Oregon, who used to live in Baltimore from the band Wild Honey, a really incredible vocalist. And also Danielle Jagelski, also based out of Portland, who is a composer, opera singer, conductor, really interesting musician. And then a brand new collaboration from me and Baynard that we just made about the death of Guillaume Apollinaire during the 1918 flu. So that's what's coming up in 2 weeks from now, and we hope that you'll think about coming to join us for that.
Yes. And that will also be available on some streaming services. And we look forward to seeing you at future Cyber Season events. I would like to thank all of our panel members for joining us tonight. Thank you, Ruby Fulton from Moscow, Idaho. I always want to say Iowa, but you're not in Iowa, you're in Idaho.
That's okay. Thank you. You're welcome / thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Baynard Woods from 1 block away. Hello, Baltimore, from beautiful Baltimore. And also Rachel Dwiggins from the other block away.
The other block away, yeah.
we are triangulated, really.
Could we also say a real quick thank you to Lily Bartenstein for teching this evening? She's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lily, who is in Pasadena, Los Angeles.
Oh, there she is.
Hello, yes. She has been running the stream and doing wonderful behind the scenes work with Rhymes with Opera, and she is our wonderful co-producer on this event. So thank you so much for your expertise, your patience, your time, and your generosity. Much love to you from Rhymes with Opera. All right. Oh, so once again, thank you all for tuning in. If you please, again, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website. And we are also now on Twitch for those youngins who like the Twitch. Get on the Twitch. It's a good time. Twitch is good. We'll have fun. All right. This is Dana Daring signing off. And thank you all for coming tonight. Have a wonderful night. Lily, I leave this in your hands.